Wake up, buy here, pay here people. It's a beautiful day. Go grab yourself another cup of joe and say hello to Jim and Michelle Rhoads on the Buy Here, Pay Here Morning Show. Take it away, you two.
Goodness.
Hey, good morning,
Good
friends.
morning.
Hope our audio's intact. We had a little bit of a snag at the last minute, ready to go live, and found out our audio was still not quite right. It still sounded like we got a little bit of an echo when the intro was playing there, but we'll just kind of do trial and error. We're really kind of the first time mostly set up in the new studio. For those who haven't been involved, may not know that we have recently relocated to Oklahoma. We're in the process still of setting up, and so this is all part of a kind of the whole track, Michelle, of moving to the new spot. Getting set up is kind of a restart for us in a lot of areas. Yep. Kind of a fresh start in some ways, and so it's nice. We've been able to set up fresh and kind of redo some things, and we might just, if we got folks tuning in, you might just give us a quick audio check on the chat thread there, so that you can let us know that you are hearing us just fine. Everything looks okay on our side.
Well, before we get started, those of you who have ever tried to play mahjong, like the real mahjong, got together with some of our friends here yesterday. It was we videotaped the whole thing because it was hilarious. I've played. Well,
why can't we see clips?
Because I don't own the video. One of the other gals did the video, and for any of you, I mean, I'd played solitaire mahjong on my device, not the same thing at all. And so it was really fun.
When you
we
play it
laughed and laughed and laughed because none of us could figure out, we were like, what does this look like? What is this? What is this? It was really fun. But, if any of you all are trying to learn how to play mahjong, let me know, because or are experts, because I could use all the help. I'm like thinking I need to find a mahjong for dummies and try to oh man.
So when you played it solitaire, did you also drink a lot of wine? Was that part of how
but we
played?
did drink a lot of wine last night.
Okay, so maybe that's why it's different. I mean, I'm just saying
that is very true. But it was mostly about just laughing and
so again, audio test. Just say hello if you're listening in. Let us make sure you're hearing our audio okay, and if make sure we don't have an echo. Like I say, on our side, sometimes the way it sounds in studio, it's not the way it broadcasts or streams. So we just want to make sure we're good.
So again, for those of you that are joining us, welcome from our new and continuing to be set up studio in Guyman, Oklahoma, Jim's hometown. So
it's been different to be back here. This town I grew up in. When I played football here in the fall in November, it was not this warm. It was.
Oh my gosh! It was like 80 degrees yesterday, and it's November.
11th.
12th.
Is it 12?
12th, I think.
Yeah.
And it's supposed to be 80 again, like on Friday.
Yeah.
And I'm like, we're not in Florida.
Right.
And so, all the gals were saying, it's been unusually warm.
Yeah.
It's
going to be. Yeah,
so
it's been different. But
who knows?
We should get on to our subject of the day. We've got, this is going to be kind of the first, we touched on a few weeks ago, this idea of a customer journey. Now we're stepping into what we would call the Buy Here, Pay Here journey. And this will be an ongoing thread in all of our podcasts, in that, it's something that we all know and we all experience, but we don't maybe think about it in the way that we're going to talk about it in the context of the Buy Here, Pay Here journey. So we're going to talk about the journey for the customer, as a collective, like, how that experience looks for the customer. We'll talk about the journey of the dealer, which we already talk a lot about dealer experience and the way things work in a dealership, but we're going to work to tie all those threads together here. And obviously from a White Hat Way perspective, we're on a White Hat Wednesday today, and we're going to certainly drip in the white hat elements where appropriate. And then we'll eventually get to the journey for the vendors, especially those that are new to the space of Buy Here, Pay Here, and kind of what that journey looks like for them as they learn how our business is different.
And it's been a fun thing I guess because of the exposure that we have a lot of new people in the space that will reach out and say, hey, would you look at the thing?
Right.
And there's, Jim's always giving some different advice about, hey, have you considered this?
Right.
Hey, have you thought about that because of the industry? Because it is a very different industry. But, part of this buy here, pay here journey, again, White Hat Way is about the long game. And the long game is a group community game.
Right.
And so it's not just about the dealer, it's not just about the customer, and it's not just about the team, and it's not just about your neighborhood. It's about all of it.
Right.
And that is part of what the whole premise of White Hat Way is like building relationships all around you.
Yeah.
And by doing that you create an environment that people enjoy working there, and also enjoy participating in events or coming and as a customer or as a community person. So today we were going to start a little bit about what brings people into this journey as the customer.
Sure.
So there we have a few different talking some things to chat about and some scenarios to keep in mind. We know that we have listeners that are old hats in this space, and we have listeners that are new, and we try to keep as much of the basics as we possibly can. So this gives great primer, great reminder about a lot of those things. So the first one is the buy here, pay here landscape today is 2 journeys, 1 purpose. And that was kind of what I was talking about. It's like long game, it's everything combined.
Yeah.
And so, it's we recognize Jim's been a dealer, worked with customers, is that part of this is acknowledging both what the dealer is trying to go through and what the dealer is doing and what the customer is doing. So like the dealer is operational, financial, culture, all of that's their role in this whole journey. And the customers is basically they're now a participant, and they bring in their own bag of things that they are working from: credit challenges, transportation needs, second chances, all of that.
And one of the things we'll be able to identify as we go through this, we talk about it some, and I think some of these things will be highlighted as we bring in guests to talk about these different elements. But one of the things that's really amplified here is this thing that we call friction between dealers and consumers. And so if you think about a singular customer who comes to you from whatever their journey is, and they come into a buy here, pay here situation, maybe for the first time they're in a subprime situation and they're shopping financing and it's a new world for them. So we can think about that in a singular context with a singular customer, right? Now, if you think about what does that look like then when you start to just identify the friction points. Where are the friction points? And I think we'll start to examine. I have some of my own ideas. I certainly want to bring guests and dealers in to talk about these parts, because my sense is that we've got some things that are solvable, very solvable in terms of the friction points. And I think it starts with understanding the journey of the customer. And so this is part of why we want to dig into that today.
Yeah. And we find that we'll be talking about some of the different scenarios a little bit later. And there are people that are that don't know anything other than this working with a buy here, pay here dealership, and then there are quite a few out there that this is a new thing. This is not something that they have experienced in the past. So yeah. So
no, go ahead.
Yeah. So, where we kind of want to start with this is what the journey is of a customer before they even land on the lot. And like, I just said is there's some that of our customers that have been in this for a long time. Jim uses the expression, it's like there are customers that always expect their car to smoke and always expect their car to leave an oil stain on their driveway. It's that's the paradigm.
That's what they've always
driven. They don't know anything different. And so, they are a lot of times just they're working hard, they're trying, but they may not have the education. They may not have the background. They don't know any better because maybe their parents were also always expected their car to smoke and to, oil and all of that.
And they may also be believing that that's all that they can afford. Whether that's true or not, they have limited income, and so they may be believing that's my budget. That's what I can afford.
So, to just briefly about this, and I think we see this every once in a while. My youngest son, their car died, and they are like, "Mom, I'm gonna have to go get a car, and I think I'm gonna have to go to a buy here pay here." And I'm like, "Why do you feel like you need to go to a buy here pay here?" And so it was like, because I've only been on the job for this amount of months, and I have to keep my payment low, and I don't have, I don't have down payment and everything. And we talked about credit, and he's like, he's got a 700 credit score, and I'm like,
yeah.
But I think that we see people that are experiencing too a downturn in their circumstances, or they're listening too much about being the underdog. And that's kind of my son. He's like, I am disadvantaged because I don't have a high income, all of those things. And I was like, you are not. You just haven't taken advantage of what you can take advantage of. But that we see people that are landing that come from, I know that I can take advantage of good credit and all of that, that they're being punted down further and further into buy here, pay here. And so it's something that they're not, they're not used to. So we have
Yeah, I think we should talk first about the kind of what I would call the facts of life. And I see Michael Pulier chimed in and says, it's a cycle like anything else. And I think we can ask for interpretation on that. But what I think can be different about the buy here, pay here segment is there are customers, I've certainly known them as dealers and all the years of coaching, there are customers who seem to sort of accept that this is their lot in life. Just like what I'm saying is that's the kind of car they expect to drive, whatever. Like there are customers who just kind of seem like they're not focused on improving their credit. They just they're okay where they are. It's what they know. It's what they think their life is going to look like tomorrow. And so in that way, they're kind of in that rut, and they're not necessarily all of them looking to get out. Now, in recent polling, a couple of years ago, we did some polling, and 60-70% of the customers that we polled said, yes, improving my credit is important to me.
Yeah, well, but yes, but I look there's a lot of education, and I am to blame for not talking to my son about what credit is and why it's important and what you can leverage when you have a good credit score, because he didn't understand it.
Well, you're among the parties that could have contributed to that education. School could do better. There could be all, social media could do better for us. Other family members, whatever. There's other places to get education besides parents.
Yeah, but the point too is that we many of our customers want to improve their credit. 60%. The other 40%, if they don't want to, they probably don't understand what better credit can get them.
Right.
And they probably, feel really defeated. And so it's like, I really don't care. So there is this level of education as well, besides changing the credit.
Let's pause for a minute and talk about this thing. And I wish I could draw it up on a board like I do typically when I'm meeting with clients, especially those that are new. Michelle's seen me draw this a few times. We think about a pie chart that is our customer base. There are going to be 60 to 70% of the customers that we talk about, they are, and I'm just picking numbers here, I'm just ballparking based on, general experience. But there's going to be a high percentage of the customers that are rarely a problem. They do what's expected, not to say that they don't require occasional reminder on a phone call or whatever, but they pretty much do what is expected. Then there's that 5% sliver that is kind of these troublemaker customers, right? They are kind of out to take advantage of people, and sometimes we don't catch that in underwriting, and we can tell right away that we've got a problem customer, problem situation, and so you read about those in social media all the time. And then that other sliver, roughly 30% I didn't talk about, is what I would call high maintenance. They're customers that maybe they're stressed on income, maybe there are other circumstances, around that. But I see that we're having some technical trouble with our stream, but hopefully folks in Facebook can find us elsewhere. But anyway, the reality is that we want to be able to recognize that most customers, and we'll talk mostly about the rule rather than the exception. And in this conversation about the customer journey, we're talking about most customers are in this category. Of course, there are exceptions, but I think we don't want to spend a lot of time talking about those exceptions.
Let's talk about the next point, and that is culture as a success lever. So the culture of your dealership is part of the success, and one of the points is that trust is built at the curb.
Okay.
And so, this is about how values and tone set by the leadership do change or shape, or they shape the customer experience from the first interaction of the loan. One of the things with White Hat Way is we teach how to greet, how to bring in, how to all of those, how to get someone into the building, how to, what is their experience like. And so, this customer journey is like when we're looking at the culture. The culture is not just your team. It's also part of like, what does your environment feel like? What does your environment look like? What does your environment smell like? How the inviting it is on the lot. But it's also about when this teaching our team members that we've been at dealerships where they just sit in the building and they don't even go out on the lot to greet anybody, or they're out on the lot and they're already asking disqualifying questions.
Yeah, so let's back up and think about that in the context of the customer journey and the dealer journey. How did the dealer get here? In other words, we've got a customer on the lot. Maybe this is the first time that the customer has been on a buy here, pay here lot. And maybe the salesperson is greeting a buy here, pay here customer for the first time.
Yeah.
So the question becomes, how did we get here? And what is the mindset of the salesperson? What have they been, when I worked in sales, as a salesperson, with the expression that sometimes used by the trainers was, load the lips, like the sales managers would load the lip of the, so what does the training look like? What is the mindset approach of the salesperson when they walk out to greet this customer? Because I think this is part of where we talk about that in a white hat aligned dealership, the approach would be quite different. Okay, it's going to be long mindset. It's going to be focused on winning trust of the customer, being transparent. It's all these things. Whereas if you think about traditional sales training, they may be embedded with certain skills that are designed to do what? Get the customer in the building, get more down payment, blah, blah, blah. Things that serve us as dealers. And so, it's maybe aimed at our success and our profitability. So this is where I think early on, let's set the tone for this whole thing about how the journey of the customer and the journey of the dealer intersect, because if the focus is on, this is where I think it becomes adversarial and where the friction starts.
Well, and it's, we talked about like we have two purposes and we're, this is the customer coming in. And so it's like now the customer and the dealer meet.
Yeah.
And that is such an essential piece to, they talk about first impressions, and it's so true, your first impression. And so what is the first impression? And I don't know, I use the analogy frequently. I don't know if you guys remember the movie Matilda, where Danny DeVito played Matilda's father, and he was a used car salesperson. And it honestly is one of the reasons why there is a distrust. And I mean, it's with car salesmen in general, but it just kind of seems to compound and thicken with buy here, pay here, is that they're shysters.
Yeah.
And so when someone lands on your lot and your first communication with them should be about the customer, should be about what are your needs? How did you hear about us? What brings you in today?
Right.
Are you thinking about paying cash or financing? And really getting to know the customer, because if you start asking those disqualifying questions first, that leads down that that same track of like they're just here, they just want. But when you make it about someone, people love to talk about themselves anyway. But when you ask and you are engaging with them as a person, and what's the situation? Why are you here? Have you been here before? Have you been to a different buy here, pay here? And really get to know them. And I'm sorry, but we're not that busy most of the time that we can't take 10 minutes
Amen.
to ask questions about who someone is, what landed them there. And then after you get them in the building, that's when you start talking about the deal. But it's like you don't do that when you're meeting someone that you're wanting to have a relationship with.
Right.
You meet someone new at some kind of a function where you're, a connector function, and you're not all of a sudden saying, who are you? What do you do? And here's the this is,
how can you help me?
How can you help me?
Yeah.
You engage and you learn, and people like to be, I call it being seen. People like to be seen. They like to be heard. They like to be able to tell someone about themselves, because people like to talk about themselves.
But they first have to be invited to do so. And part of that for me, we can back up a little further. It's like, it's about respect, Michelle. It's about, and you can hear it. You can hear in the attitude of the people on social media, and some of the stuff is like, you can hear the tone of disrespect and disregard for the customer that they serve. And look, I think I can kind of see a recipe for how that ends, but it's like, I think this is the part that we want to talk about with respect to the journey of the customer. So again, if this customer is being treated with respect, and we're doing what I call, and we think about this training, I want to think about this thing I call a lifetime handshake. So what I mean by that is, because it encompasses a lot. If you think about when I go out and I greet a customer for the first time and I shake their hand like they're going to be with me for a very long time as a customer, potentially a lifetime. And if they're not with me a lifetime, it won't be because I stopped trying.
Right.
Okay?
Right.
So that just means when I bring that mindset to every customer, that means I'm going to approach them on the lot for the very first time. I'm just meeting for the first time today. My training, what's embedded in the training is a show of respect to a fellow human being, and an attitude that I used to always train our people, anybody I've worked with in training. It's like, we bring the attitude that if anybody within 50 miles of this building can help you, it's me.
It's going to be me.
It's me.
Yeah, and I hear from some of the things that we've as we've talked to different dealers, it's like, I don't want to waste my time on. And it's like, every single person that walks onto your lot is a member of a community.
Yeah.
And if you are playing the long game and want to be able to become a positive part of your community,
Right,
then every interaction is a neighbor. And you may not be able to help the person. So, you get to know someone, and then you may not be able to help them.
yeah,
But please don't look at someone as a waste of time.
yeah.
Because that person, if they can't be helped, but they feel like they've been respected, they feel like they've been heard, they're going to let other people know too. Or when their situation improves, they're going to come back, because it's like, I was treated like a human.
Yeah.
That's key today, especially. People want to be treated as equals.
It's
not subhuman.
It's not surprising that you and I landed here. Like, this is where we live and work. This is most of what Way is about, and really kind of getting down to the interpersonal parts of these relationships. I want to take a moment to back up and let our listeners know that in this ongoing thread around the buy here, pay here journey, we're going to back up and also talk about, how does a dealer decide to get in business? Like, people that are contemplating buy here, pay here. There will be people that will see the opportunity in this changing climate. There will see void. There will see opportunity to step in and get in the buy here. So we'll talk about how that part of the journey works to even get to be a buy here, pay here dealer, to where we are standing here greeting customers today. So I think this is part of where we want to talk about how these things intertwine. The journey of the customer, the journey of the dealer. How did we come to be standing on the same lot? And then eventually we're going to bring in the vendor side and all the technology and how all these touch points with customers affect us. Because I think, again, it goes back to respect. Like, I think when I think about the sales process, and a couple threads here, so bear with me. I'm going to try to get both of them. There's a tone of disrespect we sometimes bring to the sales process, especially early on, and maybe it's intentional, maybe it's unintentional, but we tend to ask a lot of qualifying, disqualifying questions instead of learning what the customer's needs are, learning what their story is, and bringing that attitude that if anybody can help, it's us, and we'll make the X's and O's work, the dollars and cents work, if there's a way to get there. Doesn't mean that every single customer qualifies. Everything you're hearing me talk about recognizes full well that I may spend a fair amount of my time as a salesperson working with a customer who ultimately won't qualify. I get it. It's going to happen.
Again, don't look at it as a waste of time because you're building relationships with your community. You're building relationships with your neighbors.
And let me just ask, I'll pose the question for our dealers that are listening. How many of your salespeople on your team are closing more than 20 deals a month? And especially strong deals. Like, just if you think about it, just being strong deals, how many are closing more than 20 deals a month? So let's imagine that I'm a salesperson and I have a day off during the week. So I'm working 5 days a week. That means in order for me to approve, for me to get 20 deals approved a month as a salesperson, I need to be able to I need to close about 1 deal per workday, right? Which probably means I'm going to speak to.
Or 2 if you have a slow day, but that's not hard.
I realize this is old school. I'm talking about the people in the building, whether we met them through the CRM and we invited them in, they showed up in a point. I'm talking about the people who come to the building. If I'm a salesperson who's really just working with customers at the building and not a BDC, then this is the part that I'm saying. If I close 1 out of 3, like if I just expect to speak to on the lot 2 or 3 customers per day, probably 6 or 7 on a Saturday, whatever, then how many will I close? And so my approach would be, and the reason this matters in the context of what we're talking about is because when I have that approach and I work every deal, I accept that I'm spend a good chunk of today, my Wednesday, with a customer who will buy, and I may start today, we may finish tomorrow, I may spend a good deal of my time. And there may be some work to be done to make it all fit, but that's the business we're in, I believe.
We're in the relationship business.
So because again, so what's the lifetime value of that customer? If I win that customer and it's a strong deal and the customer has a chance to be succcousful, shouldn't I have gone slow? Isn't that worth it to us that I have gone slow and made the necessary investments in getting that deal? And of course I lost the other track, but maybe it'll come back.
Well, okay, so let's go on to the next one. And it's called the mirror effect. And it says what customers reflect about dealer processes. Okay. So I self-improvement, woo, whatever. I've been taught many times that when something is irritating you or making you angry or creating friction, the best thing to do is to turn a mirror around to yourself and understand that your irritation is a reflection of something that you're doing too. And so it's like, if a customer is failing, you're watching this thing. It's a good time to turn that mirror around and then look at where you use this thing, somebody messed up. Right. So like when someone fails, Jim teaches that, it's like somebody messed up. And so, doing a postmortem, which is like when a deal fails and, you pull your sales manager and your collections manager and all of that in, and it's like, let's talk about what was done in this deal so that we can learn from the things. But it really is, it's a great opportunity. Dealership systems, there's a friction in a relationship with one of your customers. That's a really great opportunity to turn that mirror around and look at how is our communication. That's the biggest thing. We can have collection policies and procedures and onboarding, which is the sales and all of that. Communication is usually key. It's like, where have we not communicated? And I'm not talking about we read the contract. I'm talking about, are you communicating with them?
Right.
and keeping open communication with them,
Right.
and keeping connected to them. That it's like if someone's just dropping off, and it's like, that's a big thing to look at yourself. It's like, how are we keeping in communication with our customers?
Yeah, and before that, Michelle, before they're ever a customer, you have to win them as a customer before you ever have that problem. So I think when we go back up and look at the BDC and the CRM side of what we do, and when I say BDC, I just mean greeting customers online, whether that's through an actual separate department with cubicles that are dedicated to that role or not. When we greet customers in the sales process because they're making an inquiry online or whatever, that's a chat thread, however, I think we also have to look at that process too, to make sure, because I think this is the part when you think about the facts of life, the reality of the customer that we serve in the buy here, pay here space, and what are the common threads about them. Then when we meet them, then we understand that they don't know everything about financing. They certainly don't know everything about our program and how our program works and what can be done and what can't be done. And so it becomes an opportunity for us to, first of all, approach customer with respect, anticipate that they're going to be a buyer. Like the thing about assuming the sale, I assume they're going to buy. I assume they're a qualified buyer, and I'm going to find a way to do business. Even if it's income, we can talk about a co-buyer. We can talk about ways to ultimately have the customer do business. And if I don't win the customer today, I'm thinking about making an impression upon them so that if they refer a coworker or a cousin or they decide to come do business with us next month, that they will choose to come do business with me. So this is me, this is Jim, this is me being a salesperson, this is me being a dealer, this is me. When I say me, it's all of that. It's like, who are we as a culture, as a team, and why would the customer choose to do business with me?
Yeah.
And so this is the part that I'm trying to emphasize. So I think when we also can bring in this mirror effect to say, where did we lose customers back here? This customer seemed to be qualified, and we missed them somewhere. They were talking to us not to buy a ham sandwich, but to get financing because in a tough credit situation, and yet they didn't move forward. We did not do business with them. So we have to analyze that. So that can also be a post-mortem thing. And I think what I would be looking for is disrespect. I would be looking for any indication that we have disrespected the customer. So obviously we're getting pretty deep into some of these threads, and we can back out a little
and I want to, with communication and that mirror part too, is it's a really important piece, and we've talked about this the last couple of weeks, especially in the climate of the economy and all of those things. Are we communicating ways that we can help that might not be directly like we can help you with a car, but it help you with other things? And I use Candace Price out of Omaha, Nebraska, great operator. Part of their sales process is to find one problem that they can solve that is not about a car.
Okay.
And so it's like they communicate, they talk, and it's like, yeah, I'm struggling with this, and it's like, oh, here's a phone number. We can, do you want to call right now? I can help you or whatever, but solve a problem and win a customer for life.
Yeah, and I feel like I remember enough about Candace's approach that they're very much like in the mindset of what I'm talking about. You focus on the customer that's in front of you. You expect to win them. If not today, you'll win them tomorrow. And this is about making trust deposits. That deal about helping solve a problem is like, it's really as simple as where are the people you want to do business with, even if it's not today. Okay, so this is kind of the mindset that I would urge people to bring. And so this is, again, the white hat thread of everything we're talking about, but we should continue. We get too deep in the weeds here.
The next one is when a dealer improves or grows, the customer wins, and vice versa. So because when you're making improvements, when you're learning, when you're growing, it does help that relationship. And so the impetus is not always just on the customer. It's us, and then offering opportunities to the customer to be able to grow and improve as well. So whether that be improving their credit score because you're doing credit, whether that be like you're doing a monthly little get together in your dealership for your customers on 101 in budgeting, and or like pathways to home ownership, or some kind of something that you're helping them, but you're also so that's like the impetus is on the dealer to help educate the customer. But on the dealer side, it's every time we learn something new, it helps us become better at what we do, at our craft. And it also reminds us, we go to a class, we go to a conference, we go to a whatever it is, and we're doing a training, and we're constantly teaching new ways, it's like keeping yourself super fresh. It actually, it will help keep the energy of the team, the team appreciates, oh, this is a new approach. Let's try it. Let's enjoy this new approach or whatever. But it just so that it improves the energy of the team members when they're interacting with the customers, and by constantly being open and open to learning new things. It's like that mirror. If you're seeing something, hey, we're deficient in this, it's so easy to find a podcast, YouTube, something around whatever it is. It's so easy to find things that are uplifting, that help you change your mindset, that help you grow. We love, like, our influencers. One of our big ones is Simon Sinek, and the things that he talks about are just like, it's in business, it's in interpersonal, I love Brene Brown, same thing. It's if you're constantly improving and learning and growing and improving your systems and writing down your processes and making it easier for your team to do their job, that it does trickle down to the customer quite a bit too.
That's the part I want to drill down to, is like, and we don't have to spend a lot of time there. This is just about planting a seed. Dealer goes to a conference. Dealer learns some techniques, and they get back, and in the course of the next 12 months, they will reduce their charge off substantially. Now the dealer looks up and realizes those are the numbers. They're driving home one night. Question in the dealer's journey: does the dealer decide to keep all that improvement and profit in their pocket, or do they decide to adjust their interest rate a little bit because they're now more efficient, they're experiencing fewer charge-offs, and they're able to pass that along to the customer? So think about that in terms of the customer journey and the dealer journey. And listen, I'm a business coach, so when you hear that and you say, gosh, Jim, you're trying to tell me to be less profitable as a dealer? No, that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying you're going to hear me when all things being equal, we tend to work with dealers who are building a sustainable business, thinking long-term, going to be around, be an asset to the community for a very long time, which means I'm going to ask dealers to think about, if we pass some of that along to the customers, and we can adjust it if we need to, but if we pass some of that along to the customers, how does that improve our sustainability? So you could use that in this example and lots of other examples. The question is, are we just focused on our own profitability? And if we are, do we understand why we might lose some customers?
Agreed. And if you listen to those that are out there that are feeling like they're the disadvantaged, it's them and the wealthy. And so there's this automatic cultural friction point of people that are wealthy, and they're going to look at a dealer like they're wealthy, but this automatic friction point of the have and the have-nots. You have, and I don't. And so when we do things like that, and it doesn't necessarily have to be the interest rate. It could be, your Christmas you can come up with example after example. You're doing all these things to help, or it could be like special bonuses within your team too. It always spread it out, and all of these things are culture. And so this is, and when culture affects sustainability and how we're perceived in the community. And so when I talk about, of course, we expect our dealers to be successful. And one of the things I look forward to bringing back to the podcast one day soon is an updated definition on what does real success look like for Buy Here Pay Here, right? This is, I've got it formulated all in my head.
But everything that we want a dealer to enjoy positive cash flow, have extraordinary profitability, have a good standing in their relationship with their lenders if there's capital in the picture, and be able to sleep well and have low stress. All these kind of things are important to me, and I want them to do that for years and years and years.
Yeah.
So there's a quick example of what I think about it. So there's nothing that I'm describing here that is meant to suggest give it all to the customers. That's not what I'm really suggesting, but I am saying that there will come a point in the dealer's journey where they've got to look at and they've got to measure and balance their own success, and are they going to include the success of the customer, yes or no? We can stop there. Is the success of your customer important to you, yes or no? We can move on.
Yeah, I love it.
Okay.
So this is kind of just a preview of some of the stuff that's coming ahead for the Buy Here Pay Here Journey track. So we're going to be talking about dealers, customers, and the vendors too will be added. And we were talking a little bit about just some scenarios. So we just wanted to again go back to who our customer is before they land on the lot. And so I want to just talk about a couple of these before we sign off today. One is Tasha. These are just scenarios. The nurse aide who lost her wheels. 29-year-old certified nursing assistant in Baton Rouge. She's working night shifts in a senior care facility, supporting her 2 kids since her divorce 3 years ago. Does this not sound familiar? Honestly, does this not sound familiar? A few months ago, her car broke down for good and the cost of repairs exceed its value. Is this not something we hear
So let me just say, this was prepared by ChatGPT, our thread. So we prompted a lot of things this morning around this particular thread, and there's a ton of content that will drive this whole journey. But this is actually a fictitious scenario created by ChatGPT, which gives you an indication of how well they understand the segment.
So the credit challenge is Tasha fell behind on payments during a short medical leave 2 years ago. The repossession that followed tanked her credit score. So we know, and that's like another thing that we talk to dealers, and it's like if they've got a repo, no, that's a lot of times why they land here is because they have had a repossession. So why Buy Here Pay Here? Because no traditional lender would approve her for a new loan.
Right.
She needs reliable transportation to continue working night shifts, and she walks into a Buy Here Pay Here dealership exhausted, hopeful, and determined to prove herself again. So
that's I've talked about that, and those adjectives there. I mean, she's exhausted, she's determined to prove herself, right? She's hopeful. That can all be true. It's also typical that the customer in the conversation, they're just focused on, man, I'm in a tough spot. I don't have a lot of income. I don't have a lot of down payment. Can you help me? And we don't often talk about the fact that we got 2 kids and why we're in a tough credit spot, but those things become relevant. And so this is the part that I would say is this customer, when we met Tasha, all she's really talking about is how much down payment would I need? What would it take to be approved? It would be on us to get to more of the story, understand the circumstances, because we're as underwriters have to make a judgment at some point. Do we believe in Tasha versus the customer last week with 800 down and whatever the payment? You get the point. It's we have to make a judgment about, is Tasha, somebody that can be successful in our program. And so this is why this stuff becomes important.
Absolutely. And it's a very seen scenario. Next one, Kayla, a single mom who survived a shutdown. So Kayla is a 41-year-old single mom and a government contractor in San Antonio. During a federal shutdown, which is what we're experiencing right now. We've had it before. She missed 2 months of paychecks.
Okay.
Rent came first. Her car loan did not.
Okay.
So, it's rent, groceries, all of those things. So her credit score dropped from 620 to 510 after she missed payments and an eventual charge off. Though she returned to work, the damage was already done.
Right. And she's the same person she was then. This is the part that I think is the respect piece. Is she's the same person she was.
Yes.
Her credit score is reflecting a change in her credit circumstances, perhaps her income. But now we're in the position of having to make a judgment about, and judgment's an interesting word by itself. But it's like we're having to make a determination about whether or not this person, Kayla, is qualified for our program, and is it somebody that we can help.
And if you meet someone with disqualifying questions from the gate, you don't learn these kind of things.
Yeah.
It's that she's a single mom. Well, how old are your kids?
Yeah.
And do you need to have a 4-door or is a 2-door? All of those things. Is if we're coming in and we're saying, how much down do you got? What,
and that's what happens on the BDC side too often. There are none of those kind of questions, but it's more structural.
Yeah.
What's your down payment? Can you do this? And so as a result, the customer feels very, very much like a number, like they've got to meet the financial qualifications or don't bother. And so you can understand why they would jump off of that track. If they don't fit the box, then the customer's gonna jump off, and we're gonna lose that customer. And so I think this is touching on some scenarios that are commonplace. They're good. They're very representative of the kind of customer we can expect to meet in the buy here, pay here dealerships on a day-to-day basis. And so this is why the journey of buy here, pay here overall becomes really important for us to talk about. And of course, we've talked about it, but not in this way. So I think what you're going to see is stay on this track and be able to weave these things together and begin to understand how they affect us operationally, culturally, financially. All these things become, consideration. So was there another one you wanted to share?
One more, Ramon. And this is something that I've seen in working with dealers before. 23-year-old Ramon has custody of his 2-year-old son after his ex-partner entered a treatment program or prison or whatever it is. He works full-time in a warehouse logistics in Charlotte, but has little credit history.
Right. Traditionally done business on
He's
cash.
credit invisible.
Right.
No credit cards, no loans, just cash always. Now he needs to establish credit, build a life for his son, and get to daycare and work reliably.
Well, does he need to establish credit, or just need to buy a car? I mean, he just got to get some wheels.
Yeah.
So he may or may not be thinking about establishing his credit as much as he just needs credit today.
Yeah.
Because he needs wheels besides what he can pay cash for, right? So
Yeah.
That's kind of but anyway, you can paint that picture and think about how you would handle that situation. But there's one after another like that. And I think, for today, we just wanted to have a chance to, and I've got Sage teed up in the background. We've got our ChatGPT agent. Let me bring Sage in just kind of because Sage is very much going to be a part of these threads going forward. Okay. And so if you want to bring that up, Michelle.
I will as soon as we get her up.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let's do that. And I'm ready to tee up. If you want to show the screen, then I will tee up the
all right.
The audio. Hello, are you there, Sage?
I'm right here, loud and clear and ready to help out. If there's anything else you want to test or run through, just let me know.
No, we completed our testing. We actually just ran through all of the bullet points for today's podcast. We're still live, and so I just wanted to have a chance before we wrapped up to have you share with our listeners perhaps just an overview of how you see this mission or this project of embarking on the BHPH Journey conversation.
Absolutely. I'd be happy to. So to all the listeners out there, the way I see it is that this BHPH Journey conversation is really about shining a light on both sides of the road, the dealer's journey and the customer's journey, and how they intersect. It's not just about financing cars. It's about building trust, understanding each other's stories, and navigating that journey together in a way that's respectful and supportive. So this whole project is about opening up that dialogue, sharing insights, and ultimately making the BHPH world a little more human. Thanks for letting me share that.
That's great. I also want to make mention that as we step into this BHPH journey, we will have our new sponsor for White Hat Way, DCS, the software folks out of New Jersey, will be a part of these conversations, and they will be able to speak to the this track of this, that is the provider or the vendor relationship to dealers and ultimately the customers. And then obviously our founding sponsors will be part of these conversations as well. And so you're familiar, you might just list for our listeners the founding sponsors for White Hat Way. Yeah, the actual companies.
Of course, it's fantastic to have those partnerships on board. So just for everyone listening, as we dive into this BHPH journey, we do have our new sponsor, KCS, the software team out of New Jersey, who will be adding their perspective on the vendor and provider side of things. And of course, we have our founding sponsors who have been with White Hat Way from the start. Those include our cornerstone companies who have really shared the vision and values of the White Hat Way. So a big thank you to them, and you'll be hearing their names and their insights as we move forward.
So she missed the opportunity to mention that our founding sponsors are, in the order they joined us, LHPH Capital, Dealer Re, and Pastime. So we'll be inviting them to come and contribute to these conversations wherever they may occur. On the Wednesday episodes of the morning show, we're also moving into the Tech Watch podcast and beyond. And so we're going to bring this customer journey thread, along the way. And all of those people have their own perspective on this journey between, that is the customer journey, the dealer journey, and of course the vendor side of it as well.
Absolutely. All right, everybody. Thanks so much for joining us today as we start this whole buy here, pay here journey, including the customer, the dealer, and the vendor, the perspectives of those things and how they all intersect, and as we learn how to better ourselves and apply the White Hat Way principles, that everyone's going to rise and it will be improvement for all. Thank you so much again to our sponsors for White Hat Way, Pastime, Dealer Re, and LHPH Capital, and also our annual sponsor for DCS.
Right.
Looking forward to seeing you guys on Friday. Thanks so much for joining, and we will sign off.
Yep. See you
Have
back
a
here
great
Friday.
day. Thanks, guys.